working to me. So, things I have learned today. You can't say butthole in the description of a Twitch video, but you can in a YouTube video. The more you know. Anyway, we're going to paint this forbidden butthole. What the hell is this thing? So this, zoom in and get a little bit better there so you don't get just beard cam. This is a piece of warcry terrain from not the most recent release, but one of the current generation releases. So what they were doing for a while is with Warcry and Kill Team, they were doing this really neat thing where you would buy a box and it would come with a couple pieces of terrain. And if you ended up buying all of the boxes, you ended up having this really neat terrain set at the end. It was super cool. I really liked that, and then they stopped doing that. But like, these are some of the pieces from that. So these are my meat trees. They're supposed to be like these like kind of living trees that actually like kill things and then like absorb their nutrients. That's why they're all like built on like bones, and they have all these little people bones and stuff on them, right? They're supposed to like actually lash out with these claws and like try to eat things. So they're really cool pieces of terrain. And in the last generation of Warcry, if you bought all the boxes, you got this really cool terrain set at the end with some really neat centerpieces like this one. Pardon the dust. Life of Living with a Shiba Inu. And they're just really, really awesome, right? So I have a good chunk of this stuff. I don't have all of it, just because some of it, like there was like a big pyramid and stuff, and I was like, I don't really want the pyramid. But like, you know, big skull, lookout tower, hell yeah, that's cool as hell. And then they moved in Warcry to smaller boxes that really weren't much cheaper for some reason. But what you would get is you would get one piece of terrain, usually some kind of centerpiece, and then two teams. Kind of like what they're doing with... I can't actually pull it out. Like the previous generation Warcry box, or Kill Team boxes, where you would get like one or two little pieces of terrain and then teams, right? So same kind of thing for this. So this is one of the ones that came with, was it ghouls and I think it was ghouls and like humans with like dogs, like dog handler soldiers. What are they called? There's the Cities of Sigmar. I think that's what it was. So yeah, so you end up getting this really cool like big kind of mouth maw piece, this forbidden butthole. And yeah, so this has been sitting on my desk for a long ass time. And I finally decided, you know, right now I'm trying to like finish up some projects, right? I'm trying to get caught up on some things. This, by the way, went together very poorly. You can see like it doesn't actually line up on that side or that side, right? Like it did not go together very well. It was a pain in the tail, and you can even see it here. This is after I cut down pieces here so it would actually fit. But anyway, yeah, so I'm trying to get caught up on a bunch of projects right now. So because of that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to finish up this piece of terrain today. I was going to play some game today, but I'm going to be super honest. It's been a really taxing couple of weeks. And I just kind of want something nice and chill and fun to do. So I thought, you know, finishing up a project would give me some of that good kind of I did something energy, you know, and I thought that would be nice. So yeah, so we're gonna work on this forbidden butthole. Now, the fun thing about this is that I don't remember how I painted those other ones because it's been so long. And as much as I always say you should write down all of your like recipes and processes, and you know, so you don't forget what you were doing. Yeah, I never do that. As much as I should, right? I really should have a paint journal and keep up to date, you know, with what I've done for each model, so I can go back in the future, yada yada yada. But I don't do that. I really should though, and I hope this is a call to action for you to do just that. All right, let's get rocking as I guess at the colors on this thing. Thankfully, this should be really easy to paint. Majority of it is going to actually be dirt. So these all actually use the Warhammer dirt texture, because this is before I had moved to the Vallejo dirt texture that I use now. So I'm going to have to go digging to find some Warhammer dirt texture. I think I still have some somewhere. We can probably spoof it if not, but I would really like to use the actual dirt texture. And I think I still have some, so I'm not going to go buy a bottle just for this, because, like, you know, I've moved away from using the Warhammer textures as much as I can. I still have to use it if I paint Necrons, because all my Necrons use it, but they use the, like, the sand one. But if I can move entirely to the nicer Vallejo dirt texture, I will 100% do that, because it is vastly cheaper and actually better quality. And you get like 5 times the amount for basically the same cost. So yeah, it's pretty much a no-brainer in my opinion. So what are we doing here? So this is Pro Acryl Burnt Red. I love this color. It's really nice. It's a nice, just kind of like dark red. I think the other red I used for these, for the rest of the meat trees I've got there on camera, I think those, and that I was showing off earlier, I think those were definitely a different red, because I didn't have this red back then. But I think this will be a pretty close approximation once I hit it with washes. So painting process for this should be pretty easy. It should just be getting a red base coat down, doing a rocky base coat, and then doing the bones, and then basically washes. So this really shouldn't be that hard to paint. We'll want to do some like more details on the bones, because they look really good with like, I don't know, a little bit of extra, right? Like trying to make some of them look more weathered and stuff. And also just doing a really nice light dry brush on bone after you hit it with a wash. It looks really good. Super good. Really basic techniques, but it makes bone look really good. So, but we gotta get our base coats down before we do anything else. So yeah, I was watching a Battletech painting video recently where a guy did like pseudo random paint schemes for his Battletech mechs, and he was talking about how much he hates base coating. But honestly, I love base coating. It's one of my favorite steps. It's the part where you can really start to see like the model, right? Like it leaves your mind's eye and it like actually becomes, you know, it starts to look like what you're thinking, you know? And it's kind of really a positive step in my opinion then, you know? So if you look at these guys, minus all of the dog hair, because that's the life of living with a Shiba Inu. If you look at all these guys here, they all have these like brown, these kind of like blue rocks. That's because in the lore, these meat trees are all kind of around this like crashed Seraphon ship, where the Seraphon kind of have this like weird, like pseudo Aztec looking kind of appearance to a lot of their technology, right? Like, you know, magical stones and that kind of stuff. And I just honestly thought the blue stones kind of fit with that. I thought it would look pretty cool with that like kind of in mind, you know. So like maybe all the stones in the area are actually parts of this rock ship that broke off and kind of like littered the whole forest, you know. That was my thinking anyway for it. That's why I've got blue stones on all of these. In retrospect, to be completely honest, it kind of looks like aquarium gravel. So I do regret that decision a little bit. But it is also kind of funny that there's a forest that lizards live in and all the rocks look like aquarium gravel. There is something also innately funny about that. So, you know, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's dumb, but it's also like, LOL, they live in an aquarium, you know. All right, so we're gonna paint in the rocks next, and then we're gonna start painting the bone. This is game color turquoise. I don't know if this color still exists, but Vallejo has very similar one. Do I remember 100% what it's called? No. But it's a very, very similar color now. But this one is game color turquoise. And as you can see, I have not used this in a while because it's all separated out, even though you just saw me shake the living hell out of it. You can see the pigment is all separated out. So we'll do some mixing there. And then we're going to take this big, gross, sloppy brush of it, and we're going to splack it on. And then we're going to have to move it around a whole lot. But I don't want to waste this much paint that's on my brush, so here we go. I do not recommend you paint this gloopy when you paint your stuff. But we'll kind of move it around, and then we'll do another coat over top to get rid of the brush lines and stuff. But yeah, just doing a base coat first, and then we'll go from there. Now, a lot of the dirt and stuff is also going to have these kind of stones in it, and that's cool. But we're not going to mega worry about them right now. Like, if we can hit them, we'll hit them. But a lot of those are going to get covered up when we do the dirt texture, just because of the nature of the dirt texture being kind of like gloopy. So so we'll probably, after we do the dirt, come by and just pick out some more of these little rocks as well, in addition to painting them now, because they'll probably just get covered in the dirt texture. Yeah, this is an old, nasty, knackered brush. I love it though. It's been doing a great job for a long time. And it's a wonderful brush for this kind of just crap base coating. You know, we're just trying to make sure we got some paint on here. All right, like nothing fancy here. This is just getting the job done, you know? But yeah, I'm trying to finish up a lot of my projects. Just because, one, I actually kind of want to use this stuff, right? Like, you know, I was actually thinking about playing Fantasy Quest today, which I thought would be really fun. But I was like, you know what? I never finished that piece of terrain, so I'm kind of low energy. I figured I would do that instead, you know? Get working on that. Yeah, let's get zoomed in there so you guys can watch me splat paint around. Not particularly skillful or interesting, but it will be. We'll get to the neat parts of this, because a lot of this, right, like terrain painting is, you know, it's meant to be like accents, kind of accentuate what you're doing, right? Like, the thing I like about this like aquarium gravel look to this stuff is that it has a really interesting bit of contrast. You can really see it, you know, with the red and the bone and everything, right? So it looks really unique, and I think that's really cool. Is that bone? Yeah, that's bone. The uniqueness of the color scheme, I think, is very neat. You know, you're like, oh, I'm somewhere weird. You know what I mean? It's not like you're just like in a cave or whatever. You're like, man, you know, all the rocks around here look like aquarium gravel. What the hell? You know, you do get this like abnormality to it that I think is pretty neat. And like lore wise, it could even fit into some D&D settings, like maybe the Underdark or something. Be kind of cool, right? Without like being its own weird thing. Oh man. You see with me splatting it on, just the mess it's making, right? Just absolute mess. But yeah, it's a neat piece of terrain. Pick out some more blue here. Let's do some more blue in here. I'm pretty sure these will all get covered up, but we'll just nail them for the hell of it for now, just in case they don't. It's little bits and bobs, you know. Bone. That's not bone. Oh, isn't that a handy dandy little window for painting? Look at that. Hello. How are you? I am very tired. I'm painting a forbidden butthole. But yeah, these there's a couple other bits in these terrain sets. There's one that's like kind of a more of like a sentient walking tree that's kind of neat, kind of like a throne almost. And then there's a big pyramid piece, and I think those are the only two I don't have. I think the sentient walking tree was from the most recent release, which was like Ossiarch Bone Reapers and Tree People, I think. And I love my Ossiarch Bone Reapers, but I painted them as like a all-day paint-a-thon thing that I streamed for the in celebration of the release of the third expansion for Guild Wars 2. So they're all Palo Joko themed, who's like this undead necromancer guy from Guild Wars. And I fucking love those models. They came out so good. And they were really easy to do, but to be completely honest, I don't remember the steps to do them. So I would have to go back and watch my own stream to remember how to do them. So I was not in overexcitement to add to that army, I guess. You know what I mean? Also, there's this. This is gonna sound really nerdy and dorky. Hello, are you painting terrain? I'm good, thank you. Good. Miss the island weather right now. Right about now. That's cool. Can I see one? Oh, the Palo Joko? Yeah, I can grab one. Yeah, it's actually really nice here on Oahu right now. It's like kind of cold. And a little damp because we just had this big storm come through. It's really nice. Oh man, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It's good stuff. Alright, let me grab one of my Palo Joko guys. Alright, they're going to be a little dirty, but a little dusty. But yeah, so we did the dried mummified bone stuff, and then I tried to simulate his... Palo Joko has this like thick, goopy oil that kind of permeates all of his forces. So I tried to simulate that. So like all the models, they all have like the oil kind of inside them. And this guy has it as like the energy coming off his wings. And then, despite the huge amount of dust, because welcome to living with a Shiba Inu, all these guys, this guy's a spinning head, which is just really fun. They all kind of have that oil on their base too. So they've got it there, and then all their insides again are oily. And like this guy, man, this guy's really dusty. Hold on. All right, that's a little better. Same kind of thing, right? Having the oil there as well for him, and his like, his magic is all kind of based on that. But yeah, that's my Palo Joko armory. And I'm not super excited to add to that army, partly because the model that came out is a centaur. And there's this whole thing that like Palo Joko fucking hates centaurs. Like it's like I said, it's gonna sound really dorky, but in the lore, he like hates centaurs and basically like genocided them in his lands. Do I know the lore why he hates centaurs? No, but it's like a thing. So because the models also just contained a centaur, it made me less likely to add that to my Palo Joko army. So yeah. But if you want to see how I painted any of those, the full video is up somewhere in the channel. It's a full painting stream. It's like 16 hours, I think it took me, and it's damn near a 2,000 point army. I don't think it's exactly 2,000 points, but it's really close. It's a really, really good chunk of army. But yeah, I painted that for the release of I want to say End of Dragons, Guild Wars End of Dragons. It was fun too. I'd never done a like a paint stream thing before, so it was, you know, like you see all the fancy YouTubers and stuff do it, and you know, it just looks like fun, right? Like, oh man, you know, am I going to be able to make the time? Like, how can I come up with methods and ways to, like, you know, do this so it's manageable, you know? How do I fit in that much painting in this time? And, you know, how do I cut corners so it still looks good? And, you know, there's something kind of interesting about that whole idea of it being like a challenge, you know? So yeah, it's pretty cool, and really fun. And if you've never, like, even if you didn't want to stream it, if you've never tried doing it, I would highly recommend it. Even if you were like, okay, I'm gonna take a weekend and I'm gonna paint this box of 6 guys, you know. Even if you were to do like a smaller version of it like that, it's really fun. It's a good time. I would highly recommend giving it a go. But it also, so our I talk about this a lot. Our brains really like 2 parts of a project. We like the start and the end of the project. We don't actually like the part where we're doing work. Our brains don't like that. They want the dopamine of, you know, oh, I'm starting this new thing. There's novel criteria. There's like all this stuff to be excited about. You know, all this stuff I haven't seen or done before. And then our brains really like the it's finished part. So because of that, painting streams like that, you know, painting for like 20 hours or whatever, they're actually really good for that, especially for things that maybe you don't have like an insane amount of motivation to do, because the time is so short between starting and ending. You essentially never hit the lull in your painting. You have that, you know, oh, I'm painting this, it's new, you know, I've got this challenge, all right, that's new too, you know, I've got to do it in this time. And, you know, there's a lot of unique criteria and stimulation and stuff, so it makes it a lot easier to, you know, like do those kind of projects. But right now, all I'm doing is trying to finish up some projects that have been on my painting desk forever. Already this year, I have finished up my Chaos, my 40k Chaos. Hopefully going to have them in some battle reports soon for one-page rule Star Quest. I have finished up all of my Stormcast Eternals. They are done as well. And now I am finishing up my Slanesh stuff. I was going to paint Slanesh on the channel, but honestly, some of the models are really tiny, and I thought it might be hard to see, even if I do like a really good job keeping everything on camera. I was like, man, I don't know if you're going to be able to see a lot of this stuff really well. So, but like some of them are really tiny, but like this is like one of the bigger ones. So yeah, my dudes are like purple and this kind of teal color. This color called Afterglow is that like blonde color, and the whole thing gets a what's called dark skin tone wash. It's a purple brown wash from Army Painter. And if you thin it down, you get a result that looks like that, which is pretty cool. And then if you don't thin it down, you get a result that's a little darker like that, which is also pretty cool but different, you know. You can see this is the Underworlds team. I've got a couple more humans to go. I don't have like boxes of the humans. The humans were actually really fun to paint. I had a really good time painting them. They're really unique. The Slangor are fun too. They're pretty cool. So yeah, so I'm working on all my Slanesh stuff as well. So they're my current project, and then I have, to be honest, a couple more projects I really want to work on. I want to get my undead all done. I finished my ghosts last year. I would like to finish all of my vampires, and I would like to finish all my ghouls. Now, as much as I say I would like to get things done, I also just bought some more ghouls yesterday. So yeah, so that's a thing, right? I bought the start collecting, or whatever the fuck they're called nowadays, war patrol skirmish head, some shit like that. Whatever the fuck GW calls them now, I don't know. Spearhead, I think, maybe. Yeah, that sounds right. It's the old start collecting boxes, but more expensive, essentially. But same old concept, you know. I bought one of those recently because it actually has all the models in it that I don't have for the ghouls. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I'll pick that up. Because I wanted to buy their like release box, but honestly it came with like a couple of them, and I was like, really not feeling that, you know what I mean? So I was also thinking about picking up the Git release box, but same thing, I don't know. I was like, you know what, I don't need all of those models, because I really primarily just play by myself on the channel now, right? That's really the only time I get to play games these days. So because of that, I was like, you know, I really don't play army scale games anymore. So I don't need like 6 wolves and 2 chariots, you know. But when they come out, you know, I'm going to probably buy a box of wolves and maybe 1 chariot, you know what I mean? But I don't need like, you know, a full-size army of it anymore. Just because that's just not how I play games these days. I really don't play any army scale games. You know, like last year I did a lot of stuff with Kings of War. I never got a game on the table, which is a real shame because I really enjoyed the Kings of War stuff, because it scratched my terrain itch and my modeling itch like at the same time, because you basically model things on like one group base, and that's really fun. So I really enjoyed that last year, but I never got a game on the table, so you know, most of that stuff's just in my cabinet looking cool, and it does look cool, and it was always really fun to hobby, but hasn't seen a game, so we'll yeah, I think I'm gonna try to keep to smaller forces, right? Smaller games, smaller forces. I'm gonna try to not get sucked into something that I don't think I'm actually gonna get to play with, you know, because I really enjoy the hobby part, like that's my main focus, but there's something really rewarding about after you finish a piece of hobby, getting to like put it on the table and be like, look at what I did. right? We can now do something with this. Like, you know, we can play a game, we can have some laughs, we can, you know, do that. It's really rewarding. Like it's super super rewarding. It's really cool. Sorry, you guys probably can't see any of that. I'm painting up like up underneath the damn thing. Probably really don't have to paint this part, but we'll at least get some paint up on there. Could probably just paint that black and call it done. Right? Or really have sprayed this whole thing black. Alright. Let's finish up the outer coat on these big bones, and then we'll start picking out some teeth before we do the second coat on anything. So a bunch of this stuff's gonna need a second coat, but we'll start picking out some of the teeth before we do it. It'll give everything more time to dry and stuff. So I think it's probably a better call that way. But yeah, so kind of impulse purchase. I picked up the Ghoul Start Collecting box. Yeah, I try to buy all my Warhammer stuff locally, but it was a really good deal on Amazon. I feel a little guilty for that. I like to buy as much of that kind of stuff as the stores have locally as I can, right? Like I can't buy everything I paint locally just because the stores don't carry it all, right? Like there's no stores that really carry Frostgrave or Stargrave minis or like War Games Atlantic minis, stuff like that around here. Out here in Hawaii, which is kind of sucks, you know. So that kind of stuff I buy online because I just cannot get it in a store. Just because partly the scene out here is so dominated by Warhammer. So out here you can get Warhammer in every store, every like board game store. You can get Battletech in every board game store, which is awesome because Battletech is great. You can get, for a little while, you could get Conquest in one of the stores, and then you can get, for a little while, you could get Marvel Crisis Protocol. They don't carry Marvel Crisis Protocol anymore in any of the stores. You can order it, obviously, yes, but they don't. You can't just like walk in and buy it. You can get D&D minis in every store. You can get Flames of War in one store, and Star Wars Legion in 2 stores. And you can get Flames of War in 2 stores. And there is some Warlord bolt action stuff floating around, but not much. Not much. And I'm going to be super honest, Bolt Action is one of the few war games that really goes on sale. So if you want Bolt Action stuff, you can get like hella crazy sales on it, on like Black Friday and stuff. So to be honest, Black Friday is like the only time I buy Bolt Action stuff. As much as I really like the historicalness of Bolt Action, I think it's really fun. Especially when you mix in a little like sci-fi fantasy, right? Like, you know, oh, here's a alien trooper and, you know, Mars attacks guys and some vampires from my Nazis, you know. That's pretty cool, right? I really enjoy that, but I don't know. The U.S. situation makes me not super interested in World War II at the moment. So I think I'm going to focus on fantasy and sci-fi a little bit right now. Kind of enjoy that break away from reality, you know what I mean? A little bit. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be back to the World War II stuff. Just Gonna probably take a little break from it because of other situations. So. Okay. Alright, these guys are... We're going to start picking out some of those teeth now because we have... Our base coat's perfect? No. Will they do for first round of base coat? Yes. So everything's going to get a second round of base coat. So we'll start picking out some of the teeth. Bloop. In our forbidden butthole. But yeah, so these I'm not trying to get perfect coverage on. Because I actually think I'm going to try to make this look goopy at the end. So I think it will probably... I don't think... I will definitely not get to this in this video. But I will be doing a gloss like Mod Podge wash and probably blood for the blood god or equivalent over the forbidden butthole here, because it will I like the idea of them all kind of being bloody. You know, I should have used more lube. But yeah, it's like a thing that eats stuff, so it would kind of make sense that it would be kind of knackered and bloody. You know, jokes aside. Oop, as I punch the camera with my head. Good job. Yeah, so this will... So essentially my painting process for this is going to be priming, right? I did this with a rattle can a million years ago, because you should really always do terrain with a rattle can, because the rattle can has a chipping agent in it, which will actually bond to the plastic better than if you were to do it with like an airbrush. And because terrain gets beat up so much, having the base paint be like stronger connected to the model is really good. So because of that, I always like to do terrain with the airbrush, or terrain with the rattle can when I'm priming. You can see I'm making a bunch of mistakes, but it's what it is, you know what I mean? We'll go back and we'll clean those up, because that's the nature of kind of this kind of thing. You know, you're not going to get everything perfect on your initial pass. So, ooh, way too much water in there. Oh my god, holy shit. Stop, 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 stop. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Give me that, please. That's not yours. Bad forbidden butthole. But yeah, you're man, some of these are weird to hold and paint. I don't know. I always try to paint in an order that means that, you know, I have rooms to make mistakes. You know what I mean? I don't really like to fully finish one area and then move on. I like to get to a place where if I make mistakes, it's okay, because I have a touch-up step. And it's not like I have to go through washes and dry brushing and volumetric highlighting again if I make a mistake. You know what I mean? I try to have an order of operations. That means that there's always some way to clean up. So yeah, so the order of operations for this is going to be that priming. I just primed everything gray. Probably should have primed everything black for the underside of the bone, but oh well. And then we're going to be doing our top coats here. Not our top coats, our base coats. Right, so this is, the base coats will get 2 rounds. They'll get the first round, then they will get a second round to make sure we've got everything. Because, like, you know, there's a ton of stuff here in this bone that, like, I'm missing, right? That I've got to fill in. You know, so our second round will do that. And then we will move on to touch-ups. And once we have done touch-ups, we will do our earth texture. And once we've done the earth texture, we will go ahead and do any additional touch-ups after that. And the only real touch-up that's going to be there after the earth texture is going to be potentially painting in more blue rocks. That's going to be the touch-up at that stage. So after we do that, everything will get a brown wash, probably Agrax Earthshade or Strong Tone, something like that. Well, I assume I used Agrax Earthshade on these previously. I will probably use Strong Tone now, or some other equivalent brown wash. And that's going to be all over the bone and all over the like the straps and the chains and all that kind of stuff. I was going to say all over the, what is that stuff called? The bamboo. But this one actually doesn't have any bamboo. All the other pieces in this set had like tons of bamboo. But it'll get all over that, and then the brown or the blue stone is going to get itself a blue wash. And that could be the GW one, or it could be the Army Painter blue wash. I don't know which one I'll use yet. They're very similar, so I'll probably just use whatever I'm close to running out of. And all the blue stones will get that. Now after that is done, all of the bones are going to get a lighter white dry brush, or lighter off-white dry brush. What that'll do is it'll pick out all the highlights in the bones, and give us kind of a like faded, like weather-worn kind of bone look, like they've been bleached a little bit and dried out in the sun. And that's kind of really what I want, because they shouldn't be like bloody bones, you know, like these tree things don't seem to eat very quickly, I'll put it that way. They seem to take a long time to decompose something, so you know, maybe they've been chewing on these bones for 20 years or whatever, absorbing the nutrients out of them, you know, while they go along and also pick out or pick off like birds and stuff that come to eat it as well, you know. So they have these like giant kind of old bones that they just slowly be decomposing. Because there's a lot of nutrients in bones. A lot of things out in the world eat them. Not like, you know, like, oh boy, I'm just gonna eat this whole skull, but you know, they'll gnaw on it and pull the nutrients out of it and stuff. A lot of things in nature do that. You'll even see stuff like squirrels and all gnawing on like antlers and stuff that fall off. So, all right. So yeah, so after that, after the dry brush of the lighter off-white, which could be this one, which is off-white from Vallejo, or it could be, I want to say walnut from scale 75. I think it's called walnut. Maybe that's wrong. It's an off-white color from scale 75. Very nice. A little bit lighter than the Vallejo one I just showed. But the Vallejo one is also very good. So it'll basically... Okay, come on. For real? Where are my goddamn tweezers? Thank you. So yeah, it'll basically just be whatever one I grab. But they're both really nice off-whites. And all of the bones are going to get that dry brush. Now, I'm not going to dry brush the teeth for obvious reasons, because that's going to be a pain in the ass to get in here and dry brush each one of them. And I don't have that level of brush control. I just don't, as a painter, to dry brush these small areas and not get it all over fucking everything. So we won't be doing that, but yeah, I'll do all the bones. So like the skull, these ribs, that kind of stuff, I'll do all those. So pretty fun stuff. And then that will be a majority of the work done. All right, so that piece will basically be almost ready for the table at that point. Like I'll be pretty happy with it. So after that, I'll come in and I will add some more weathering to the bones. Most likely with a like kind of light brown speed paint. Do things like paint the bottom of the rib so that it's darker than the rest and stuff like that. And then maybe I'll come back and do another light dry brush, like a heavier light dry brush on like the tips of the bones, like the ones that are like this part kind of here, so it stands out a little more, and is a little more dried, right? Whereas the bottom of the bone is maybe sucking up a bunch of moisture because it's laying in the dirt or whatever, and the top of the bone is getting like super sun bleached, you know. Yay, Shiba Inu fur everywhere. I joke, I fucking love my dog. He's amazing. He's a good boy. 10 out of 10. He's a big old potato. But yeah, so we'll come back and we'll do that. There are teeth here, so I might break out a yellow wash and do the bottoms of the teeth, because this is a skull just upside down. So I might break out a yellow wash and do the bottoms of the teeth to be like plaque kind of thing, because I do think that looks kind of cool, and I think it makes the skull stand out a little from the rest of the other bones. And I think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to put this paint on, and then I'll grab the skull and show you what I'm talking about there, because I did it on the skull watchtower here. So you can see a couple of things here. And you can see the broken tooth here. It's got a little bit different of a wash on it. So it looks like not the outside, essentially, right? Like it looks more like damaged and decayed. And then the teeth here, they all have this yellow kind of plaque-like contrast paint on the top, so they kind of stand out, which I think looks pretty cool. But yeah, so that's probably what I'll end up doing, as those extra kind of weathering steps on the skulls and stuff. And then after that, the whole thing will get a top coat of matte varnish. I just use the varnish from like the home repair store. I was gonna say I'd buy mine at City Mill, but City Mill is probably not a thing that everywhere has. Just any home repair store varnish, essentially. There's one that's like called like double coat or something, and it works really well, and it's really thick, which is nice, and it gets very, very matte if you let it sit. So if you paint it and then let it sit for like a day, it gets really matte, and it's really good. And it's like $5 a can, so I like that a lot. I do also really like the Army Painter matte varnish. That one is also very good. However, it is much more expensive and actually much more matte. So if you want like extreme matte, it's really good for that. If you don't want it to be like extremely matte and just want like a little bit of matte, it's less good. So like that's something I like to use on my World War II stuff because I think it looks really, really good being like extremely matte. But you do have to be aware that it will essentially kill like all the shines of your metals and stuff. So you got to be ready for that, and maybe touch those back up afterwards with like a pencil or a graphite stick or something, or just hit them again with a little bit of metal to give them that shine back. You know, that is something to be aware of because it is so matte. So yeah. I enjoy it quite a bit. But the one from I think it's literally called like double coverage or something. It's it does a great job as well. I really like it. So, and it's really thick, which you think would be bad for miniatures, but having a thick varnish is nice. So it means you don't ever really have to worry about them getting hurt. And it won't ever yellow, which is also really nice. So once that's done, this will be ready for the table, but I'll do some more to it. So there will be a couple more steps after that. The step immediately after that is going to be adding some gloss Mod Podge. So I'll be adding gloss Mod Podge to the butthole to kind of make it look wet and kind of gloopy, right? Because I think it's a big maul that's in the ground, right? It shouldn't look dry because it eats shit, right? And then I might water down some red contrast paint and paint it in with that gloss Mod Podge, so that you get kind of there's a layer of blood on this thing from it like consuming so many people, and I think that will look really cool in the teeth part of it. So that might be something I do. We'll see. That part I don't know about. And to do that, what I would do is I would take speed paint medium, which is just speed paint without the pigment in it, and I would mix it with red speed paint of some kind, and then essentially like dot it in places around them all, not stippling, so like a little thicker than stippling, so like dotting, but that's what I would do with it. And I think the end result would look pretty cool, I think. And then if I wanted to do one more step to this, I don't know if I do, what I would do is I would come back and I would then hit the teeth and stuff with the really thick Blood for the Blood God from Citadel. Because it's a really thick blood wash, or like blood technical paint, I think they call them. It's super, super thick. So I would not want to do it first. I'd want to do it last. And it would also be a darker color than all the other blood steps that I've talked about. So yeah. And I would probably do that one the most sparingly. yeah, so that's going to be all the steps for this, because I'm going to be super honest. This piece is a lot bigger than I thought it was, so I'm not going to get to a lot of those steps today. I think we'll probably finish up some base coats, and then I'll probably have to call it from there. Partly because I want to play some Warhammer with my husband, and I also got to one of the people I work with, he wants me to print some parts for his little drone, so I told him I'd do that, so I got to do that today too. I don't know a lot about drone stuff, but he gave me some plastic and asked if I'd print it, so I said okay, sure. So I got to do that still today too. And I've been so worked up this week that I'm just like, man, I know everything I have to do, and it's all very easily doable, but I do not have the energy to do any of it. You know what I mean? Just exhausted. But yeah, I mean, everyone's exhausted. That's not unique or interesting, but it's true though, you know? It's true. But yeah, I've been playing Warhammer Return of Reckoning with my husband. I don't really care for PvP games, to be honest, but I like the Warhammer setting, and I like playing with him. It means that I don't often play it by myself though, right? Like, I like when I play with him, but I don't. Sorry, you probably can't see this step. I'm doing one of the inside parts real quick. I don't know how to hold it to get it on the camera. I like playing with him. It's really fun, but I don't often play like by myself, you know. So like, he's got like a whole bunch of max level characters, and I don't even have one yet, kind of thing, you know. But I'm working on it. When I play with him, my guy's slowly leveling, and it's not like it's a game where I have to worry about getting left behind or whatever, right? Like, this is a game that was shut down in like 2018 or something, or far before that. So, you know, it's like not like I have to worry about, you know, being behind the curve or whatever, you know. So, but yeah, PvP games and stuff are usually not my jam. You can even see that with the war games I play. Like, I don't really like the super competitive ones. I really like co-op war games. I think co-op war games are like where the real fun is, you know what I mean? Big fan of those. So, way too wet. That's why I've been enjoying playing StarQuest so much on the channel recently. I think it's super cool. And just really, really, really fun. Craving a little bit of fantasy though, so I think we're gonna. Today I actually wanted to play Fantasy Quest, or I think it's just called Quest, maybe. I'm gonna call it Fantasy Quest. Today I actually wanted to play that, but I just like, I don't know if I have the energy to set it all up, and then I was like, I hadn't finished all the terrain because this piece still existed, and you know, that kind of thing. So, but they're really fun, and the app for them is phenomenal. I will sing its praises every time. As a person who builds apps and stuff, like, fantastic. And it works really well and looks really good, and it generally like, I would usually say that app for tabletop game is stupid, but it actually makes the game so much easier because it just eliminates any of the mental tracking you have to do, and it's really nice. Like, if you actually fill it out as you go along, it tracks all of your wounds, it tracks your conditions, it tracks all the enemies that are on the board, it tracks all the equipment you have. like it's dope AF. And I'm normally a person that's like, you know what, I do enough stuff on the computer. I don't want computer stuff when I'm playing on tabletop. But it is so nice that, like, oh my god, it's so good. Just fantastic. Like, directly just adds to the experience ridiculously. Oh, shit. God, this thing is so fucking big. It's a giant forbidden butthole. Just honking huge, man. Yeah, I'm painting pretty much non-stop for like an hour. Like sloppily painting too. Like quick painting, not even like mega detail painting. And I mean, I'm not even through all the base coats yet. Much less into the cleanup step. You know what I mean? So, yeah, this thing is big. Big, 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 big. A lot bigger than I was expecting, to be honest. Ew. I expected this to kind of be like a 45-minute stream and done, but dude, no. Wow. So, if you have to paint a forbidden butthole, make sure you set aside plenty of time to make sure all your base coats are good. Even though you're going to slather everything in wash, you want your base coat still to be nice. But yeah, I normally at the end of every year I do something called hobby debt, where I go through and pick out the minis and stuff that I haven't finished for my ranges. Last year I did it with my Tyranids and with some of my Necromunda stuff. So my Vansar are all painted, my Tyranids are mostly finished. I have some additional models I haven't painted, but all the models that are started are basically done, except for like one or two. But a huge portion of them is done. And then all of my nomads are also done. And that kind of process of picking something and being like, we're going to finish this is really nice. So I'm trying to keep that energy rolling, right? With projects like this, with projects like finishing my Slanesh or my Stormcast, you know, trying to keep that ball rolling to, you know, get to the state of where I want things to be. You know, I don't want all of these unfinished projects hanging around. Like, if something's not filling you with joy or whatever, you should, you know, there's nothing wrong with putting it down for a little while and maybe coming back to it later, right? Or maybe in 6 months you'll be like, you know what, I really don't care about this anymore, you know. So you can sell it or whatever at that point, you know what I mean? You're like, I cared about this 6 months ago, I really don't anymore, you know, or chuck it in a box and put it in your garage or whatever, you know. But like, there is a you know, there is a value in being like, aha, I did the thing, I finished it, it's done, you know. Especially when it's something that you would enjoy playing with if it was done, you know. Because I'm not saying this as a critique for anyone that doesn't paint their models, but I don't play with unpainted models. I don't play with unfinished models. or rather, I try very hard to not play with unfinished models. Sometimes I've had to, but I really don't. I don't enjoy that because for me, a lot of it is the spectacle and the joy of putting those models on the table when they are done. That's a lot of the enjoyment I get out of the games. So I try very hard to not do that. So. Whew! Get in there slowly, slowly. We're making it. Oh, I think we'll finish up all our bone cards. Hello. How are you? I am base coating this forbidden butthole. Ta-da! But yeah, just getting those projects done it feels good, you know. Feels good. You feel like you've completed something, and now you have something that you can share with others and play with. So that's pretty darn cool. So if you notice, I'm not painting like perfectly down to the rock, right? Because that I really don't care. Because not because I don't care about the model looking good or anything like that, but because I'm going to hit that area with texture paint, right? It's going to get the brown texture paint like the other train pieces have, right? And that's going to fill that area in. And there is going to be a cleanup step after texture paint for anything where, you know, I need to touch up a little more or it needs to go a little deeper or something like that, right? But I do want there to be, you know, some debris and dirt and, you know, texture kind of between the bone and the rock, right? What project work on? I'm chilling, man. Been painting on stuff for a while, so I'm just trying to chill. That's fair. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. You know, it's very easy to burn out on painting. I paint to chill, so it's one of the few ways I can relax. So it doesn't often happen to me, but I know it does for other people, right? I do other things I don't do other things to chill. So what am I working on? I'm painting a forbidden butthole. This is one of the pieces of warcry terrain. Eventually, and I probably won't get to this today because I'll probably be wrapping up here in a couple of minutes, but eventually it will look like this, and be kind of a meat tree. You can kind of see, yeah, so it'll look like this, or like this guy here eventually. That's what she'll look like. This is just one of the pieces of terrain that came in one of the warcry boxes. I'm going to be super mega honest. I don't know if they sell this piece separately. I'm assuming they do. It's probably like $1 trillion, knowing GW. But I got it from one of the warcry boxes in I want to say early 2014. That's what I want to say. Which box was it 100%? I don't know. Possibly ghouls versus, what are they called? Age of Sigmar guys. Cities of Sigmar. Cities of Sigmar. Possibly ghouls versus Cities of Sigmar. And I think it's because they did 2 different ghoul teams for Warcry. I think this one is the ogres that are infected with consumption. They're like the ghoul ogres. So they're like really big and very primitive looking. They really, I think, look heavily modeled after the mutants from Bone Tomahawk. So That's what they look a lot like, to be honest, as I knock over everything. Pretty sure it was that box. And then the Cities of Sigmar guys are like trackers with like dogs. I actually never finished those. I actually never even built them. Ironically, that sprue was actually sitting right where this thing used to sit before I started working on it. They would be cool to build. I should build them. They would be really fun, especially if I was going to play some Frostgrave. They'd be really good for that, to making troops for Frostgrave. I actually like a lot of the Cities of Sigmar models. I think they have a really cool kind of medieval, kind of like illustration style to them that I think is really neat. They aren't something I'd ever play in one of the big war games, but I could easily see myself doing like a Cities of Sigmar styled, or using the Cities of Sigmar models to do like, I don't know, maybe like a Scarlet Crusade kind of looking army. I think would be pretty dope. I think that could be pretty darn cool. I could see myself using them as like bad guys in StarQuest or Frostgrave, something like that. They would also make really good just henchmen for Frostgrave. I feel like they have this really kind of weird or stranger style to them than like a regular knight does. And I think they look pretty neat because of it. So I feel like you could really do some neat stuff with them and for Frostgrave. I do like the idea of doing a Frostgrave campaign, and you like essentially one person supplies like all of the soldiers that you buy. I think that would be pretty cool. So it looks like all the soldiers like essentially came from like the same guild or whatever, you know. I think that would be kind of neat. You know, maybe you do some kind of thing where like your team composition has to change every time, and you do rolls and stuff to say who can buy what and all, and have like, you know, kind of like almost like a draft to it. I think would be pretty cool. And make for, I think, some really kind of fun, exciting games. And it would also mean that people couldn't really min-max their teams. They would have to have kind of unoptimal setups quite often, and that's always fun. Having kind of like optimal teams leads to more interesting games in a lot of cases, in my opinion, versus just being like everyone has the best thing. Oh boy, that's so much fun, you know. Okay, how are we looking for base coats? Let's touch up a little bit on the inside still. But we're getting pretty close to being done on the bone for this. So after that, we will touch up our red and our brown, our red and our blue. And yeah, then we're, just like I said before, we're hitting the dirt. And we're doing our washes. And all those other steps I talked about, right? Like they're all the ones that come next. I am running out of steam though, so I will probably not get there. I think I'm gonna finish this touching up the bone, and then I think we are going to touch up the red, and then I think I'm gonna call it there. Yeah, you can see, you know, we've made hella progress on this, considering it was just a gray block when I started the stream, you know. And it's definitely getting there, I'll put it that way. Like it's getting into that ugly duckling step, right? This kind of happens at the end of any time you are base coating. You get this ugly step where it kind of doesn't look good yet, right? But it now has the potential to like grow into a beautiful swan, you know. But right now it's just ugly as shit. That's kind of where we are right now, right? And you'll see people like Sonic Sledgehammer and stuff like that. They'll talk about like, you know, have faith in the process and trust the process and that kind of stuff, right? That's where we are right now. That's the step we'd be at. Ugh! All right, let's touch up our red, and then we'll go ahead and call it for the day. And I'll be back next week with something else. Maybe I will be back midweek. Maybe we'll build some of those goals together from the Start Collecting box. So I think I get that later on, like midweek. So maybe I'll come back with a stream. We'll do that together. That sounds like fun to me. So yeah, I haven't done a lot of unboxings lately, but that's honestly because I haven't bought a lot of stuff that like I would normally unbox. So like a lot of the like Start Collecting boxes and that kind of stuff I haven't purchased lately. I think the last unboxing I did was that half of the Scaventide box I bought from eBay, right? And that's not even really an unboxing. Yeah, it was like half a fourth, you know. I think that's like the last one I've done. I did some unboxing. I did a haul video, I guess. But that's not. Yeah, I guess that counts. Of action figures, because I was really enjoying action figures for a little while. Just having a lot of fun with them. So I still really enjoy action figures, but I don't know. Just was on an action figure kick really hard for a while, looking at GI Joes and all that kind of stuff. Just having a good time with it, you know. Okay. Alright, definitely some teeth I want to hit after I touched up the touch up, right? So we want to do that one. That's what we're trying to avoid with the touch up. Ay, 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 ay. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Got a couple more things we gotta hit. I'm gonna hit down in here. And I'm gonna hit around these ones because I apparently really screwed those teeth up. Yeah, there we go. That'll do it for us. We'll go ahead and we'll hit around all of these teeth, as well in red. I'll just paint a little ring around each one of them, even though a lot of this is going to be dirt, just in case we miss it. We'll at least have red there instead of gray or bone or whatever. That's what I'll do. Alright, I know he's going to be picking this thing up and like spinning it around and like looking under the teeth and stuff. That's not how that works. So okay. Alright. And there we go. That is a hell of a lot of project made on our Forbidden Butthole. And I'm going to go ahead and call it there because I am needing some liquid. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed watching me paint this Forbidden Butthole. And yeah, it'll be in upcoming battle report when it's finished, I'm sure, when it looks like one of these guys. So, yep, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one, and keep on